Robert Perk's room at Conversations 2026. I'm Kristen Bayless, or KB. I'm a product marketing manager at Meta here in EMEA. And I'm super excited to welcome you for this session, Transforming Customer Service on WhatsApp. This is a business workshop perfect for customer experience leaders, customer service heads, and anyone responsible for contact center operations or customer satisfaction metrics, which I know is a lot of us. Here is the challenge. How do you boost customer satisfaction while containing costs? And the answer is asynchronous messaging and smart automation, freeing your human agents to focus on the moments that truly matter. Leading this workshop is Shruti Dube, Country Director for the UK at Meta, and she is joined by Nathaniel Okenwa, Head of International Developer Evangelist Team at Twilio. Please welcome them to the stage.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Have you had lunch? Not had lunch? Not yet. Not yet. All right, so us holding you from lunch, great. This is going to be an energizing session, so you will not be thinking about food. Let's just say that. That's extra pressure and incentive for us to make this really engaging and exciting. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. As KB said, I'm Shruti Dube. I am the UK Country Director for Meta. I've been with Meta for nearly 11 years, and honestly, this is the most exciting moment of the last 11 years I can remember. And simply because I find us at that moment of yet again finding a new way, finding a way to democratize how businesses connect with their consumers, and finding ways to create more of those customer wow points and resolving more of the customer pain points. So that's what we're here to do together, and I'm delighted that I'm joined by an absolute expert in this field, Nathaniel.
Thank you so much. It is really, really good to be here. My name is Nathaniel Okenwa, and I serve developers as part of Twilio. And one thing that I really love about my role is I get to be part of the team that helps builders turn all of these amazing actions into the how and into the way they implement that for their customers. And I'm really excited to share some of the learnings that we see out in the field as to how people are using WhatsApp and really transforming customer engagement with the platform. So it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited to share some of my learnings with all of you.
And it's a workshop, right? So we are going to get hands-on with this and practicing and building together. So really excited for it not to be a one-way conversation. Really want your questions and your engagement. So please keep that coming. Right. Let's just frame this in the context of the opportunity that we see here. When you look across all of the customer interactions that you're having, only 23% of them are actually proactive. That tells us that 3/4 of the time when your customer is reaching out to you, they've already faced a problem. They are annoyed, they are concerned, they want answers. And of that, when they actually do reach out to you by their own accord because they have a problem in their mind, nearly 3/4 of the time, it's via multiple channels. And with each of them, they have broken context. So that's where you have your frustrated customer. Not only is the cost high to a business of every time a consumer tries to engage with you on these broken journeys, but think about how you want to delight your customer. This is absolutely not the experience you want for your customers. And that's where the shift is happening, where enterprises are seeing how you can utilize the power of WhatsApp to actually make this so much more seamless and be where your customer actually is and reach them even before they think of a problem's now been created and I need an answer now.
I just want to echo that because we're seeing that a lot with our enterprise customers. Oftentimes when we start a conversation, the first thing that people ask on is return on investment for that proactive versus responsive. And I know some of you in the room will be saying, well, being reactive probably will save me a bit of money. But actually, when you look at it over the cost, over the longer-term relationship with that customer, it actually ends up being more expensive. Being able to identify their intent, all of those things ahead of time, instead of being ahead of time, allows you to save so much money and give a really, really wonderful customer experience for your customers. We're going to dive into that in a lot more detail in just a moment.
And I'm often asked that question of, so who's actually using it right now? Is it just the small businesses? Do you have any enterprise case studies? And here there, I'm sure, is a variety of people from different businesses. And the honest answer is, it's across the board, across sectors and industries, across geographies, is where we're seeing that uptake. So just sharing with you this example of a European bank, when they utilize WhatsApp as that channel of speaking to their customers, they actually found that the cost per contact fell 10 times. 10 times. Their NPS improved nearly 20 percentage points. And if they looked at what are the channels that their customers are using, their customers were using WhatsApp 4 times as many as any other channel. And that's not because they were actively pushing it or somehow promoting this channel more. It's because that's what the customers proactively preferred.
And this is what we're seeing out in deployment. Oftentimes, you may hear about meeting your customers where they are. And customers are on WhatsApp. And you said 4x. We've seen a customer, a big retail chain, that actually saw an 8x increase in sales from engagement that happened on WhatsApp, especially with all of the extra features that WhatsApp enables you to do as you're communicating with your customers. And just like you said, that persistent conversation becomes so important. Customers love when they don't have to repeat themselves and start from scratch building up all of that context.
And that's exactly why, because every business is going to frame the KPIs that they care about. Maybe it is that you care about the NPS score, or maybe it is that it is the cost that you're trying to drive down. So no matter what is your business KPI, we're seeing that the opportunity is massive. By 2028, we do expect that all of these rich messaging formats are going to far overtake the volume that SMS has today.
And sometimes I'm talking to businesses, talking to builders, and they say, SMS is working fine for me. Why do I need to change? And the question I always ask is not about what's working today, but what's that going to look like in 2 years, in 3 years? How are you showing up versus your competitors in the same space? What do those experiences look like compared to yours? And the great thing that we love about working with Meta and with WhatsApp is that the infrastructure is scaling. The infrastructure is always looking forward, whereas some of the other channels like SMS, they've been stuck in the past for a long time. So it's really good to look at these rich channels as a way to keep ahead as times change.
So that's us framing the opportunity in front of us, and hopefully you're as excited about it as we are. So let's get into that space of where we will talk about the messaging journeys and the building out of it. We'll utilize what is the messaging journeys framework. You may have attended another session that had a similar kind of a framework. And as we do with what we've done before with ad sales and helping our clients and businesses grow, find new customers through ads, the same philosophy we apply to the messaging journey. What is the end outcome that you're trying to achieve? What is that resolution point that you're really looking for your customers? That's the starting point. Next, we get into, all right, if that is what we're trying to achieve, what is the entry and re-entry point of your customers? How do they enter that experience with you? Is it they're reaching out to you, or maybe you're reaching out to them? So what does that look like? And finally, what is that, when you have the customer with you, that in-chat experience going to look like? How are you routing the conversation? How are you directing the conversation? How is the query getting actually resolved? So that is the messaging journey framework that we'll dive into shortly.
And as we go through all of these parts of the framework, I'll be interjecting a little with some real customer stories of different ways that customers have implemented some of these and some of the results that they are seeing, and hopefully that you'll be seeing soon as you take these away.
Brilliant. Before we dive into getting you to work on your messaging journeys, we thought it might be helpful to share a few cases with you, or use cases on how this might actually be something that you build out. So think first of that proactive customer support. These are your flight updates, shipping alerts that are going out, billing confirmations, account notifications, utility messages that actually satisfy your customer's future query even before they've ever dreamt of it. So if you look at this example right here, it's that check-in alert is going out. So the person knows how to check that in. And that's how you know how to staff the duration of people that are going to be at that check-in desk. Or you delight your customer by actually telling them, you don't need to rush and keep looking at that board to see where your gate is. Here's your notification, your gate's changed for the flight. And when you're trying to run around with your kids and toddlers pulling at you, you don't need to again go looking for another board to see where's my baggage at, because actually it's with you where you're always looking. If not for yourself, that notification is going to pop up when you have Peppa Pig or Coco Melon running on your screens for your kids. So it's that persistent thread that is present, and it's an opportunity for you to delight your customer.
This one feels very personal to me because just yesterday my baggage got stuck in another country, and having to go to a help desk and go through all of that process when the airline should have known ahead of time really, really reinforces this point, because every proactive message that you send out is a ticket, is a long process that doesn't get created by the customer that's tedious on their part. And you're not just adding volume, you're actually preventing it in the long term. And the return on investment actually is really, really immediate. There is a huge delivery provider that had a big problem because lots of people would miss their deliveries, and you'd get the little piece of paper. I'm sure many of us have experienced this. They'd have to go through a third-party provider to organize collection or have it re-delivered somewhere else. And then what they did is they implemented it with WhatsApp, just a little outbound message to say, hey, your delivery, you weren't here to collect it. Click on one of these options to be able to move it. And they saw an 8x improvement, 8x increase in the number of people who were able to quickly, within 24 hours, arrange an alternative delivery or collection. And that is huge. That is something that saves them a lot of money and increases customer satisfaction immensely.
That's a great use case. Another example of this could be your intelligent self-serve, where it's really obvious for the customer on what they're supposed to do, because it's such a structured, clear flow that you provide the options to the user in that experience itself, and they know very obviously where they should be going or what they should be doing. So imagine fraud alerts. A customer gets them, they can just choose, is this you that was doing that transaction, confirm or deny? And that's it. Your interaction completed. No need to have that call that you place, the long wait that we've all been on, do a long verification of who you are. Honestly, like I've started to recognize myself by my postcode and the first line of address, when who am I should mean something deeper than just those two things.
And what's really, really important about this is where being able to identify that intent becomes so key. Because you get the right intent classification, and that will give a user a really, really great experience. The problem is, if you get it wrong or you're not doing it well, it does create friction. And so this is where being able to really see those paths, those golden paths, and maybe not even so golden paths that your customers may be using, and being able to plan those out so that you can send them down those wonderful experiences as they engage with you.
Absolutely. And then a third one, which really matters to all businesses, is payment reminders to people. And it really matters to customers as well, because everyone has a busy life, and oftentimes when a payment is due and you've missed it, it is so much more annoying to have to call someone to say, right, can you please reinstate this? Yes, I missed the payment deadline, but I actually do want to continue with this subscription or your service. So, or I need to pay my tuition fees, and please allow me to actually do that. So something like this, where you get that proactive payment reminder before any of that access is cut or subscription is stopped, and you get a chance. And in some countries where payments enabled within WhatsApp, people can actually make that payment within the WhatsApp journey and flow itself, and that's it, job done, move on. You have your subscription, you have your fees covered for another quarter or whatever it may be. And that just is the kind of delight and differentiation that businesses can create with their customers, because this isn't commonplace right now. But soon, customers will come to expect it. So you can be the first mover and the fast movers on this.
That reminds me, I love this proactive billing example. We had a really, really big finance provider for car finance that instead of using not even SMS, snail mail, to remind people about missed payments, the moment that they switched to using rich messaging to get people online and pay straight away, the amount of time between the first missed payment and then that being resolved decreased dramatically, and it becomes something that really helps you to be able to reach out to customers and have them self-serve, and then the amount of time that leaves you to focus on the actual complex customer queries gives those people a great experience and also does a massive amount of deflection.
All right, but getting into the first interactive bit, could you please scan this QR code and share with us via WhatsApp what percentage of the service interactions you have right now are proactive versus reactive? Just take your best estimate, and we'll come back to this number.
And I'd like you to really think about this, because the thing that we notice is most people actually overestimate this number. They think that they are reaching out to their customers. Think about your use cases and the times that customers are interacting with you, and then this is not a judgment, by the way. This is an opportunity. This is going to allow you to identify where you can grow, where you can improve, and then set into motion some of the changes that can increase your customer engagement scores in the next couple of quarters.
Good, we submitted. You can see folks still thinking hard about the question and putting that through. Give everyone a few seconds to do it.
But this is such a great question to constantly be asking yourself, right? Constantly really evaluating, especially as your business grows, the things that you provide for your customers grow, can come back and constantly re-examine this.
There you see it. It's that 10 to 25% is where, or 0 to 10%. So somewhere between 0 to 25%. And honestly, this group is perfectly aligned to, or maybe I've done inception because I said that at the beginning, that less than a quarter of these outreaches or interactions that are happening are proactive. And that is our big opportunity, because every proactive interaction is that ticket not created. It is actually an opportunity for us to open that thread and have a very proactive, positive conversation with our consumers.
And one story that I love, and I'll probably tell it again, is this idea of the ghost guest. So a big hotel chain had a problem where they'd have guests that would show up, never interact with anyone, and then leave. And there was 0 touch points. That guest then leaves a very negative review. But then having these proactive interactions suddenly gave them the opportunities to surface offers or to engage with that customer for them to then solve those problems. So I'm really excited. I'm very impressed by the 75 to 100% people in the room, but hopefully we can still make that even better.
I mean, something you're doing is incredible. We need to see what that is. Definitely want to learn. Please come find us. We'll come, just flag to us, and we'll definitely want to learn from you. Right. Let's start with the end in mind. We'll get building. So what we'd love for you to think about is, what is that business outcome that you're looking for? It's going to be different based on your business. It could be that you're looking for cost reduction in what you're currently spending in your cost centers. It could be that you're actually looking to increase your customer satisfaction scores. It could be that you're trying to get your human agents to focus on more complex things and increase their productivity, because that's going to mean better earnings and cost efficiency for you as a business. So what is it that you're really trying to get across the board?
And thinking hard about this is super important, because the outcome is going to completely change the architecture that you decide to roll out. And even as we're giving advice, there is no one size fits all. Each of your customers are going to have slight nuances, and your customer bases are going to have slight nuances in what the right approach is going to be. Like if you're solving for satisfaction, you might want to prioritize speed. But maybe if it's a more complex query, context preservation is the higher priority outcome. And being able to take all of those and balance them in the right time and the right place is what takes you to the next level when you're engaging with customers.
Right. Enough of us talking. It's time for us to interact and do together. You have worksheets on your seats. If you don't, please raise your hands. We'll make sure we come bring one to you. Everyone has them. We'll start building our journey through this, right? and you'll apply the 3 steps that are present in that for your business and for your outcome. And when we look at the business outcome that you're trying to drive here, think about the resolution eventually, because often in a contact center world, we're thinking about tickets and is the tickets closed or not. But if we reframe the problem with the mindset of what does the customer actually want? They're looking for a resolution to their query. So when they're asking about where's my order, they really need to know precisely where it is and when is it coming to them. That is a customer resolution. If someone reaches out to us with a subscription question, they're really trying to understand, have I been billed for this? Is that accurate? Do I want to continue with that, or don't I want to continue with that? So it is really understanding what is the end customer resolution that you're trying to achieve. So why don't we take 2 or 3 minutes to please write down what are your top 5 customer resolution points that you're really trying to achieve right now?
So, like it said, it's a workshop, so people are going to be heads down. And then also in just a moment, we'll open up for a couple of questions about this resolution points. And we'll be doing that through each step. So write down, and then maybe if you do want some clarification or you want to understand how you can think about what those right answers are, we'll also have a runner going around with a microphone in just a moment.
Shout out any questions you have or anything that you're thinking about, but we'll give you a few minutes to just write.
I'm also quite curious, as you're writing, if there's anyone who would be open with sharing just a couple of examples so we can talk about it with the rider room, and thinking about what those customer queries or those customer resolution points might be. If you are open with sharing as well, I'd love if you just raise your hand and you could share with the room. It'd be great to see some of this implemented. Yes, over there. Why don't we do this? If you introduce yourself and what your business is, and then talk about the customer resolution point.
Hi, Andrew from Alliance. We're an ISV. We run messaging for hotels. So I'm using their driver, right, which is the guest journey. They're trying to drive online check-in and optimization because then they can make sure that they get their ETA. We're used to it in airlines. They're trying to bring it into hotels. We work with global hotels. So one of the challenges actually we have with proactive messaging is we have loads of American customers that I can't send a utility template to. So some of our challenges are how do we get those messages consistently delivered across the world? WhatsApp's about 85% of their messaging volume currently today. Bit of WeChat, but that's reactive. But then also we have to default to SMS. So when they want to drive a proactive engagement, they hit blockers of like the customer then has to go to a website and then take the whole journey on and the responsibility from themselves. So that's some of the stuff that they're doing, but they're looking at capturing estimated time of arrival, capturing payment method, capturing who's on the booking. That's the journey they're typically going through because it then optimizes their journey underneath.
It's a brilliant use case, and you can definitely map it out for those exact resolution points. And I think on that piece about the US, I think it's the marketing messages which currently are something that you can't send on, but
way we have to do, I think we have to do marketing, not utility. Is it not?
no, you can send utility messages. It's marketing so that we're not
that's,
bombarding
that's from everything gets listed then as marketing.
And we're happy to chat offline on that, but essentially, whenever you're sending any of your messages, they get categorized as a certain template. It can be a marketing message, which is you're giving offers to people, or it can be utility, which is authentication, kind of, here's providing you a service which will help you, and it's not us pushing an offer to you. And then there is proactive questions from the customer. You can absolutely have the servicing of proactive questions from customers, and you can send utility. We need to make sure that the template that you're using, the system is recognizing it accurately as the last two. It's the marketing for now that we can't send, but please watch this space as well. But those are super interesting use cases to deliver to customers in the UK, anywhere in EMEA, LATAM, APAC, loads of places where this would be super relevant.
I will admit you stole one of the customer stories I was going to share later on. So they are doing a the exact same use case of optimizing check-in times and then figuring out when guests are going to arrive as well. And the fact that they're doing that on WhatsApp makes me pretty sure that utility messages in that context can work. So.
I think we have another hand.
Hi, I'm Juliana. I'm from Itaú Bank in Brazil. How we are using the services message, we want to try to solve our customers' problems. So when they have a declined purchase, we send a utility message letting them know why they are doing. Also, we are sending insightful communication. So we are doing the reminder bills. So if you know the customer has a bill to pay that day and they didn't pay yet, we send a WhatsApp message right away to let them know, hey, don't forget to pay your bill. And also to reduce anxiety. So we are a big bank, 100 years old. There are some problems that happen. So normally, the customer calls to our call center, but we want to try to reduce those anxiety, and WhatsApp is the right tool for do that. So we do all the resolution tracking in WhatsApp today as well.
That is amazing and a great use case as well. Now, I think it's also really, really powerful. I love how you've distilled this, and this is the point of the resolution points, distilling it to what the customer's goal is. If you can summarize that goal, for example, the goal in this customer is, I want to spend as little time on the phone maybe as possible, or you can summarize it to, I want to check in the moment I arrive at the hotel without having a long wait, and then that tells you the type of architecture in terms of the customer flow that we're going to show in a bit that you are going to build. And then also, like I said before, optimizing for example, context preservation, which you may need to do if you're doing this resolution that's going to take multiple steps, maybe even involves a few agents or a couple of different people. We'll talk about shared context in a moment, versus something which is maybe transactional. You need to just get some information to then optimize something else, where very, very simple structured flows could be really, really powerful. Speaking of flows,
I think we have one more question.
Oh, one more question. So, David Schrank with Deloitte Consulting. I don't have a specific business example. I have a personal example I want to ask about, which could then have a business example. So, I have 3 teenage daughters, and they send me 10 texts a day with links to get me this bracelet, phone case, Lululemon jacket, whatever it might be. If it's for a big company, they know if I click through, I can buy it easily. But certain times I'll get something from Instagram or something, and I'll buy it, and it might never come a month, 2 months, 3 months later. So I don't know where it's coming from. Maybe it's coming from China or India, and it never arrives. So I think what you're discussing here is a very powerful tool for some of the places that don't have the distribution and the e-commerce engines that some of the bigger players have. So how is that fitting into this model, so that when you purchase something and it never arrives, or you have no one to call for help, this would seem like be the right place to do it if I'm buying it off an Instagram link from some advertisement?
If the business has that enabled as that two-way thread, and honestly, that is what you're describing is a way of frauds and scams, right? It's really fascinating that a lot of the conversations we're having right now and use cases that are underway for implementation are actually specifically for financial services, where the bar on frauds and scams is even higher, and it's just a real pain point for that industry, as it is for retailers or e-commerce players that you just do not know about. But if you have that persistent thread with them, then you know that that is actually an authentic conversation that is happening. So it would place a higher trust in an entity that you've had previous interactions with. You've actually been able to ask them about, where's my order, and actually get a response back to it, versus it just going into the ether. So it is that two-way communication that can happen between customers and a business, and it brings, if you were there for the keynote earlier this morning, that whole idea of actually we went from knowing people one-on-one when we were trading and doing interactions in a shop on a street, to then doing it by a website where the business really didn't know anyone, per se. But now, again, we have the opportunity of making the conversation one-on-one and bringing back the relationship aspect and trust right into the heart of every conversation, every transaction that's happening between a business and a customer.
No, absolutely. And it's really interesting, these use cases. And I think something which Meta and the WhatsApp specific platform is really powerful is that transition from the personal life into a business transaction, right? And so what's really great is the different experiences that you're already feeling between some of these more established businesses who have put investment into what does that flow, that engagement look like when a customer's coming from WhatsApp. And what we want to do is be part of those businesses that give you that great ongoing engagement when you are on WhatsApp. And that's going to allow more organic, almost marketing really, as more and more people share their experiences in their native app where they're already having their personal lives and stuff, and then being able to translate that into free marketing for you as they spread the word of the great experiences that they're having.
Trust, because half the time I'll say, send me a link from Amazon. I don't really trust this stuff. So then I feel a little bit better buying that shit. So in terms of adoption, that's where we come in. I think having some kind of, I don't know, star or something that allows
Verified.
verify that this is a legit place and you'll have a decent experience or some recourse.
Fully agree. A question here.
Yeah.
So basically, my question is about privacy policies. Sorry. Hello. So my question is about privacy policies and consent and stuff like that. So how do you handle, because obviously you have integrations and then you have the API side as well within WhatsApp and Meta for developers and stuff. How do you handle custom consent boxes? How do you handle various privacy laws around the world? My question is more about that rather than, the customer service side, essentially.
Very happy. I can, please do jump in. That is an extremely important question, right? WhatsApp is a very loved brand. YouGov did a survey, and it's the #1 trusted and loved brand. And we want to absolutely keep it that way. So that is sacrosanct. I think the way you go about that and what we're seeing, again, businesses around the world do, is some of them already have the consent in the conversations they've had with their customers already, which included messaging. That's fine. But there are places where it's actually not happened. The easiest way and the best way of doing this is through running an ad on Instagram or WhatsApp, which is click to WhatsApp. So a user themselves see that ad, and they take the action to click to WhatsApp and come into the WhatsApp flow. That's where you request for your consent. And if you've signed on to the Conversations WhatsApp experience, you would have seen that, where it asks you, are you happy for us to send you messages? Because what it's doing is, from its side, trying to provide value and utility to your lives. But you may think, actually, thank you very much, that's spamming me, I do not need that. So we need to earn that consent, and that's a brilliant way of doing that.
I don't really have much to add. She nailed it perfectly. And the thing that we love about the tools that they give is the fact that they constantly give us as people who are building with their platform notifications when a customer has changed their preferences, when a customer has decided to opt out and things, and then we can build that into those applications and so figure out the right way in the right place to be able to handle that effectively.
Shruti, Nathaniel, I appreciate we only got to step 1. Do you want more questions now, or should we take it to step 2?
Keep going, and then we can keep, but we're loving all of the energy, and please
great.
keep it going. All right, moving on to the next step, which is, as we discussed, the entry and re-entry points. Is it that your customer's reaching out to you, or is it that you're reaching out to your customer? And again, think with that lens of the resolution you're trying to drive for them. How do you want to, and where do you want to meet your customers? Let's have a think about that.
Yeah, and so think about that and think about the gap between that percentage that number that you came up with. What should that number actually be? Now, it may not necessarily be 100% because there's going to be lots of complex queries, but maybe it should be somewhere much further up than 23.
So what we're going to do is move on to this step of looking at our in-chat experience, and then I'm going to ask you some questions. But we've covered what the resolution should be that you're working towards. We've discussed what the entry and re-entry points should be. And now let's think about what actually happens when you have the customer in that thread with you. Which of these three are you doing with them? Are you routing the customer where it's really clear what is the steps that they should be going towards? So how are you triaging what the customer's telling you to do? The next is resolve, which is, right, these are the two options. This is how we're going to resolve the customer query because it's just really straightforward, really structured. It's self-serve, no human interaction required. And then the third one is escalate, where you elegantly take all of the context that you know from the interactions, the threads, and without frustrating your customer by asking them to talk about all of it again, you pass that on to your human agent that is there, ready, armed with all of that context to serve your customer quickly and effectively.
Yeah, and I love this because as we go through the steps, we'll be talking about some of the really important things to be thinking about as you go through that route, resolve, and then escalation as well.
All right, let's pause and see if there's any questions at this minute, because we'll go deeper into each of these three in just a minute. Go for it.
So my question is,
Can we get a mic? Mike?
My name is Olu. So we have a cross-border payment. We serve about 60,000 customers at the moment. So looking at this, a very good and great product. And in terms of, because some of our customers are not patient customers. So because you already, transfer your money, you want your instant qualifying payments immediately. So in terms of that, when the customer comes on the app, and currently we use Sendex, so we want to integrate WhatsApp to Sendex as well. So when customer comes to, let's say we start with this the chat. When customer comes on the app and they want to chat through AI, and when they want to, you want to change the chat to woman agent, the woman agent have history of what the AI has already, the questions that the customer has interacted with the AI before the woman agent responds to the customer. Would they have that?
Yes, absolutely, they do. So that's exactly the escalate step of it, and we'll go into that in just a second. But the short answer to your question is, will the human agent have all of the information, the thread that's happened with the AI agent? Yes, they will.
That's good.
All right, why don't we double-click into these three, and then as you think about it, maybe there's more questions. So the first one, where we're routing things, that's where your triage is happening, and a very simple mental model would be, if it is a very high intent, very high confidence answer, it would go towards automation. If, on the other hand, it is more ambiguous, it requires emotional intelligence, that is when you need some human intervention if your AI agent isn't ready to take that on. But I think starting out, it's best to err on the side of saying, right, what is really obvious, that is what we will automate. But where it requires judgment, creativity, human intelligence, emotional understanding, that's where we rely on humans powered by AI to be able to do this more effectively.
No, absolutely. And one thing which we've seen out in the field is a lot of people, and the LLMs are powerful, I love them, lots of people went straight to, I want to offload everything onto an LLM. And maybe there are some circumstances where this will work, but oftentimes it requires you to actually be nuanced and think about what are the things that I'm very, very confident on the AI getting right, on the LLMs getting right. And that number, that percentage is going to change. And then figuring out, yes, let's build flows for those high confidence, like she said, interactions, but then let's look at the places which will need more nuance, or the places where maybe there is some compliance or some other things that are going to require us to step in and then escalate to a human.
And then comes the next step of your resolve, especially if you're using your AI agent and have routed towards that automated kind of response that is coming through. Some of these user interactions are really straightforward. All they want to know is, is my billing complete? This is the order I placed, and you can ask them, these were the items that you said you wanted. Yes, no. You've requested for an appointment change. This is your changed appointment. Yes, no. All of this is just to create that security, and I think you said like the anxiety that a customer sometimes has, you're allaying that anxiety, you're providing very clear, very simple answers in and out of their lives with no intrusion whatsoever. So this is that kind of seamless, I've helped you and then gone out into the background, and that's exactly what the customer wants in that moment.
And I want to re-emphasize this idea of guided self-service, because the customer knows what their problem is. They don't know your system. They don't know necessarily your flow. And the important thing is to guide them through this journey, to give them options that let them self-select, oh, this applies to me, even though before I did not know that I was in this bucket. So it's really, really important. And even if you are using AI and LLMs to generate some of that natural language, really giving some of those guided flows so that a customer understands that they are giving your system the right information to move forward in your flow.
Exactly. And then, when you actually do need that human, all of that context on AI gets passed over for that more effective resolution. And your customer, because we have the WhatsApp business calling API, they can directly escalate as well. I'm sorry, do not want to speak to any AI, just need a human, connect them to me. And Gartner research shows that there's 3 big things that any user is looking for. The first is that kind of proactive, please reach out to me and solve my problem even before anyone's ever figured out that I have a problem. The next one is just get me a human agent fast. That is something that people are really looking for, and that makes a huge difference. And third, of course, is reactive or proactive, just solve my problem. That is really key and the essence of what makes for strong, effective customer service.
And the great thing is there's no context switching. Customers chatting and then switches to the phone call, they didn't need to restart context. If you have an agent on the other side, a human agent, they have all of that context. And what's really cool is you can actually do some really, really powerful summaries and observations so that at a glance they can understand where exactly the customer is in that journey and can pick it up, and it's a nice warm transfer.
So that's it really. The 3 big things that we'd love for you to take away is it really isn't about getting your contact center to handle queries faster. Yes, we can use AI to become faster, but the real power comes when we are rethinking the entire flow, when we're utilizing AI to even preempt any of the questions that that customer may have had. Your proactive utility messages are that deflection layer for you. The second, when you're convinced about this, is those messaging journeys. And we went through a small exercise of thinking about the steps. You start with your resolution points. You really think about what is the entry and re-entry points with which your users are coming to you. And then what is that in-thread, in-chat experience that you're leaving your customer with. And finally, you know the opportunity that by 2028, we will see these rich messaging services are going to overtake SMS. So are you building for that future when that is going to be a baseline expectation that every customer just has of you?
And the great thing about this process that we've talked about today is it is repeatable. A lot of the enterprises that we see that are doing well, they're on stage 4 or stage 5 of doing this cycle over and over again. And don't worry, it's never too late to start. You can hopefully take this away and look out for some of those opportunities where you can use this framework to build those wonderful interactions for your customers. And then as well, as technology continues to change, as we're seeing so many more improvements in the options that we have, being able to then take them and apply them and go through this lens again. Maybe our confidences are changing. Maybe there are different ways that we can resolve some of these issues. And then that allows us to continually lead in whatever business you are in the way you engage with your customers. I'm sure many of you have had engagements with a business where you left feeling joyful, and hopefully you want to give that same experience to your customers as well.
Yes?
A lot of our clients already have call centers in place. They're looking to modernize, but they've already made significant investments, 20, 30, $40 million in platforms. When you then want to take the journey to this, talk a little bit about how much of that is reusable, how easy is it to plug in, how much does it have to just become its own separate thing? That's what we've been trying to understand a little bit more.
And I think we'll have to figure that out for a client. I don't think that there is a simple, all-encompassing answer, but I think the design choice for businesses is, are you going to be present where your customer is present and where, by the way, other businesses, your competition, is present? And in doing that, there's different ways of doing this, right? If you do believe you have the right AI agent set up for yourself and your business, you can integrate that into WhatsApp. That's a way of doing it. We, of course, believe that the AI agent that comes from Meta utilizes what we have built over years and years, which is deeply understanding businesses and their customers and enriching that interaction. We did that via ads. We'll do that via these conversations now. So we do, of course, believe that our AI agents are very well suited to this design case, but that's where every situation is going to be different, and we'll work together with the client, the partners that they have, which could be system integrators, it could be business solutions providers, such as Twilio, and figure out what is the right answer for them.
Amazing. Well, thank you so very much, Shruti and Nathaniel. Give it up for Shruti and Nathaniel, please.